shattered stone. Young hearts burned through the winter sound, far from home but not alone. Flags were torn and the ground ran red, still they held with steadfast hands. Every name carved in the ledgers, every loss across the land. Oh, we remember, oh, we remember the price they paid, the line they kept. Songs of honor rise for the brave who did not bend. Songs of honor rise for the living and the dead. Republic of Korea, hold in tenacity and fire. Songs of honor rise, you carried hope through the wire. From Busan roads to frozen ridges, through the smoke and mountain rain, they gave their strength, they gave their future to break the dark and bear the pain. Mothers waited by the doorway, fathers bowed their heads in prayer. Brothers fell but never faltered, sisters kept the flame alive there. Oh, we remember, oh, we remember the years of scar, the will to stand. Songs of honor rise for the brave who did not bend. Songs of honor rise for the living and the dead. Republic of Korea, hold in tenacity and fire. Songs of honor rise, you carried hope through the wire. Let the glasses touch like bells, not for glory, not for conquest, for the souls we know so well. One nation blooded but unbroken, one vow kept through smoke and snow. Courage lived inside the sorrow, and it still will, long ago. Dawn, a young nation stood its ground. Fields were torn but not their will, names were carried, not run down. From Seoul to broken ridge lines, they held the line in blood and rain. And every mile they paid for, still they rose and rose again. Hear the cups on the table, hear the boots on stone. Every loss was answered by a heart of iron bone. Songs of honor, we remember you. Republic of Korea, strong and brave and true. Songs of honor, through the fire and the storm, you stood unbroken and your courage kept you warm. At Busan, at the river bends, at hills where smoke would bite, mothers, sons and brothers kept the dark from taking light. 50 to 50 kept you warm. Let the fiddle speak their names. Let the old walls hear the quiet of the living, for the ones we keep sincere. Not for glory, not for gold, but for the line they drew. A country scarred and steadfast, with a heart that carry through. Songs of honor, we remember you. Republic of Korea, strong and brave and true. Songs of honor, through the fire and the storm. You stood unbroken, and your courage kept you warm. So lift one more for the fallen and the living, carrying on in the long night of the war. You were the lasting song. Millet had his hill, but up in Chuncheon, at the very beginning, when the sun wasn't even up and the tanks were crossing the river, there was a man who didn't wait for orders. He just stood there and told the North to stop. This is for the captains of the Rock, the ones who turned the opening move into a losing game for the enemy. Surprise, but they don't have the ground. The ground is mine. If they want the city, they have to walk over every single one of us. He's the one who took back the Chuncheon control. They thought it was easy, they thought it was done, but they met the captain before they had won. The captain leads, the line holds, the invasion stops here. We talk about the UN command, but the men who were there know the truth. The Rock forces were the first ones into the mud, and they were the ones who stayed when the world was falling apart. This is for the commanders who held the lines at the Nakdong River. It wasn't about strategy for them. It was about home. It was about the Iron Ridge. stands on the rise of the hill, watching the valley where the machine guns spill. Don't give them a foot, don't give them a lane. We're the ones who are standing in the iron rain. His face is a map of the sorrow and the steel, the kind of resolve that the enemy can't feel. They're pushing the waves, they're climbing the wall, but the commander stands tall, or he stands for us all. He knows every stone, he knows every tree. He's fighting for the soil that he wants to be free. An ancestor spirit, a modern day blade. He's reaping the harvest of the war that we made. They ask why we do not fall. They look at the numbers, they look at the map, and they ask. They do not understand that a man does not surrender the ground where his father is buried. We do not hold the line for the UN. We hold it because there is nowhere else to go. No retreat, no surrender, the rich is still here. He's the master of the fire and the king of the fear. The rich is iron, the commander is stone. The nation stands. They call him the first four-star, but in August of 1950, he was just a colonel with a failing line. At the Busan perimeter, when his men were paralyzed by the sound of T-34 tanks, he didn't call for a retreat. He walked to the front, drew his pistol, and told them, "If I turn back, shoot me. This isn't just about a rank. It's about the man who held the gate when the hinges were breaking." The T-34s are grinding on the ridge, burning up the world at the edge of the bridge. The men are shaking, the fear is in the bone, but Paik is standing there, solid as the stone. He doesn't look at maps, he doesn't look at ghosts. He's looking at the fire from the enemy host. We're the men of Korea, he screams in the gale, and we're not the ones who are destined to fail. It's Paik's line, hold the iron gate. We're the only thing standing in the way of fate. From the Nakdong River to the 38th line, we're paying for the freedom with a dirt-stained shine. A general at the front, a rifle in the hand, defending the future of a broken land. I spoke their language. I listened to their plans. I knew they were coming long before the orders changed. But you don't fight a war with what you know. You fight it with who stands beside you. He saw the war from the start to the end, with a hand for the soldier and a back to defend. From the burning of Seoul to the hills of the north, he's the spirit of the nation that's calling us forth. Not for the glory, not for the pride, but for the millions of people who didn't get too high. The first to lead, the last to yield, the general stands. We spent decades pinning medals on chests, but there are thousands of rock soldiers who don't have a name on a citation. They were the ones who turned the tide at the Nakdong and bled into the soil of the north. You don't need a ribbon to prove you held the line. This song is for the thousands who went uncounted, the ones whose medals are written in the earth itself. They didn't all get the parade or the star. They didn't all get the fame from afar. Just a rifle, a pack, and a hole in the clay, and the weight of a nation that won't go away. From the southern rice fields to the northern pass, they gave their heartbeat to the mountain grass. Oh, for the medals that never were earned, for the souls in the dark that were suddenly torn. The rope is the anchor, the rope is the fist, fighting for a country that might not exist. Their valor is hidden, their sacrifice deep in the soil where the heroes are finally asleep. History only remembers the few who were watched, but the war wasn't won by the few. It was won by the masses, the farmers, the students, the sons who stood where the line was thinnest. We recognize the ones who were never named. We recognize the rook that kept the light on. You won't find the names on a marble facade. They just walked through the fire for the love of the sod. A brother, a father, a life cast aside to keep the republic from the turn of the tide. The medals are rust in the rain and the sleet, but the ground is still free underneath of our feet. Oh, for the medals that never were worn, for the souls in the dark that were suddenly torn. The rope is the anchor, the rope is the fist, fighting for a country that might not exist. Their valor is hidden, their sacrifice deep in the soil where the heroes are finally asleep. The uncounted, the unyielding, the republic stands because you did. We hear about the generals and the bayonet charges, but the war wasn't just on the ridge. It was in the rice paddies, the ruined villages, and the kitchens where the fire was kept lit with nothing but damp wood and hope. This is for the mothers and the farmers, the ones who kept the nation breathing while the world tore it apart. The men are on the mountain, the smoke is in the sky. The women are in the field, watching the years go by. Planting in the crater, weeding in the rain, turning every loss into a harvest of the grain. A bowl of cold water, a handful of weeds. We're sowing the soil with the hunger of our needs. But the table is set and the fire is high. We're not gonna quit, we're not gonna die. From the ashes of the village, the garden will grow. We're the heart of the nation, watching the war go. Rooted in the dirt, bending in the gale. We're the ones who keep the story from ending in a wail. They asked me why I didn't leave. I told them, if I leave, who will wait for them to come home? You don't abandon the house just because the roof is leaking fire. You patch it. You stay. Playing with shell casings and rust, making their future out of the fallout and dust. The grandfather's legacy, the mother's strong hand, holding the pulse of a broken down land. You can burn down the house, you can break down the wall, but you can't stop the harvest, no matter the fall. The harvest stays, the home remains, the nation endures. Cup tonight to the hills that held the line, to the hands that built back homes from the ash and winter time. They stood in borrowed dawn with the snow and iron rain, and they did not give their name to the fear or to the pain. Hear the old roads call through the smoke and the blue-gray sea, from the torn front line to the shore of dignity. Republic of Korea, we remember you. Republic of Korea, stood hard, stood true, from 1950 to 1953. Your courage lives in the bones of memory. By the field and river bend, where the cold wind cut the breath, there were sons and daughters there who kept faith beneath the death. speak their honored name. Hear the old roads call through the smoke and the blue-gray sea. From the torn front line to the shore of dignity. Republic of Korea, we remember you. Republic of Korea, stood hard, stood true. From 1950 to 1953, your courage lives in the bones of memory. So drink slow for the fallen and the ones who carried on, for the fear that never won, for the dawn that still came on. Tenacity in the dark, sacrifice in the snow, courage in the broken hour that the world should always know. Republic of Korea, we remember you. Republic of Korea, stood hard, stood true. From 1950 to 1953, your courage lives in the bones of memory. Oh, Republic of Korea, we remember you. Republic of Korea, we sing for you.
They call it the invasion, but in the streets, it was just the sound of glass breaking and the realization that the map had been torn in half Seoul in June 1950. The fog was low, the trucks were moving, and the city didn't know yet that it was already a ghost.
The sun isn't up, but the sky is on fire. The news is a tangle of broken wire. The Han River Bridge is a line in the sand, with the ghosts of the future all over the land. The streets are a swarm, the gates are all down, and the silence is leaving the heart of the town. No time for a suitcase, no time for a name, just running away from the edge of the flame. Seoul is falling, the fog is a shroud, the trucks are a river, the panic is loud, the tanks are at the crossroads, the signal is dead. There's nothing but ash in the horizon ahead. The bridge is a mistake, the bridge is a trap. We're watching the world get wiped off the map.
I remember the smell of the dust, not the shelling, just the dust of thousands of people moving at once. You don't realize how heavy your own life is until you have to leave it all on the side of the road. Fate always turns. The fog lifts. The city is gone. has begun. The war didn't just end in the trenches. It migrated up. We started looking down, and the enemy started looking up. The reconnaissance era didn't just give us intel. It gave us a new kind of war. One where the person who sees the most stays the quietest. This is for the eyes in the sky, the ancestors of every flight, every patrol, and every sensor that kept the border silent for the next 50 years.
Watching the fire through the camera's gaze. A map in the lap, a pencil in the hand, tracing the pulse of a divided land. The altitude climbs, the world gets small. We're the ones watching the rise and the fall. The glass horizon, the eye in the blue. We're looking for the truth that the others never knew. The camera is cold, but the lens is hot. We're mapping the shadows that the artillery forgot. From the Chuncheon rage to the DMZ, we're the eyes of the nation, watching to be free.
I have eyes on the tree line movement at coordinates 409er. They think they're hidden. They don't know the glass is turning their way. Keep the camera steady. Don't blink. The truth is in the detail. Keeping the pace, leaving our own quiet, invisible trace. The sky watches, the border waits, the eyes never close. Under southern stars, we raise a glass to the ones who flew through smoke and glass. No two in the wind, through flak and flame. Flying cheetahs, we keep your name.
On cold stone walls and wooden beams, we pass your stories down in streams. From broken roads to open sky, you did not fade, you only fly. Flying cheetahs, come home in song. Flying cheetahs, your run lives on. We drink to the brave, we sing you near. Flying cheetahs, still here, still here. Boots on the floor, old pints in a row. Grief in the ribs, but the voices grow. Mud on the cuffs and the iron rain, yet you came back in the hearts we gain. Names on a page, but more than stone. You carried a nation where you were thrown. On cold stone walls and wooden beams, we pass your stories down in streams. From broken roads to open sky, you did not fade, you only fly. Flying cheetahs, come home in song. Flying cheetahs, your run lives on. We drink to the brave, we sing you near. Flying cheetahs, still here, still here. If the night grows thick and the road runs thin, we find your courage and breathe it in. Not for the fame, not for the crown, just for the fallen and the years gone down. Flying cheetahs, come home in song. Flying cheetahs, your run lives on. We drink to the brave, we sing you near. Flying cheetahs, still here.
November 1950. The dirt on this runway is frozen solid. It's a long damn way from Pretoria. When the UN called, South Africa didn't send a drafted wing. They sent the 2nd Squadron. The Flying Cheetahs, all volunteers. Commandant S. Van Breda Theron walks down the flight line. He hunted the Axis in the desert, and now he's hunting the Red Star in the snow. He looks at the P-51 Mustangs. He looks at the men. We aren't flying up in the clouds, he tells them. We are going down into the valleys, down into the mud. We fly at deck level, and we don't miss. The Springbok is in the air. Cheetahs into the communist breeze. A World War veteran with a heavy command, bringing the fire to a fractured land. No swept wing jets, just a turning prop, flying into the valley where the anti-aircraft drop. He points the nose down right into the dark. Commandant Theron is leaving his mark. Drop the payload, pull on the stick. The flak in the valley is growing too thick. He doesn't command from a desk in the rear. He's down in the dark with the grinding gear. The and he calculates the toll. Every single sortie is a gamble of the soul. The Americans are watching how the cheetahs fly, taking the hits from the lowland sky. With the shattered canopy and oil on the glass, Theron is making another heavy pass. He carries the weight of the men who fall, a leader of exiles answering the call. You want to break their supply lines? Send the cheetahs. They fly lower than anyone else. They take more hits than anyone else. And they follow him anywhere. Target identified, Chongchon River Bridge. Anti-aircraft fire is heavy. They're throwing everything they've got from the tree line. If we fly high, we're sitting ducks. If we fly low, we're ghosts. I'm dropping to the deck 50 feet above the water. If I don't pull up in time, I'll be part of the river. Let's give them hell, cheetahs. And nursing the pain. The Chuncheon is waiting to swallow the steel. I'm locked in a grip on the flight control wheel. We're hitting the bridge with a payload of lead, leaving the Reds with a valley of dead. Low, 50 feet, fast, supersonic heat. The flak is a forest, the guns are a wall. The cheetah is hunting, ready to fall. Chongchon Run, we're cutting the line. The low-level hell is a design of mine. The Mustang is screaming, the wings are a blur. No one can catch us, no one can stir. Buried in mud or fly in the sun. This is the cheetah's last sortie run. I see the flash from the anti-air nest. I'm putting their accuracy to the test. A bank to the left, a dive to the right. I'm weaving through shadows in the middle of light. The engine is smoking, the coolant is dry, but I'm keeping the rhythm until I can die. For the boys back in camp, for the pride of the wing, I'm making the shrapnel and aluminum sing. I'm hit. I'm trailing smoke. Jettison the tanks! Stay low! I'm not gonna make it to the mountains, I'm putting it in the river. Godspeed, Cheetah, I'll cover you.
no one can stir. Buried in mud or flying the sun. This is the cheetah's last sortie run. Low level strike, Chongchon Run, flying cheetah strike, strike, strike.
They call them the Flying Cheetahs. They write about the pilots in the papers back in Pretoria. But they don't write about us. They don't write about the midnight shift on the freezing tarmac, pulling tree branches out of radiators and washing blood off the leather seats. We brought 95 Mustangs to this war. We've lost 74 of them. Every night we hammer out the bullet holes, patch the aluminum, and send them right back into the meat grinder at dawn. We aren't just mechanics. We're the undertakers. Song that the shrapnel sings. The pilots walk away to the mess hall tent, but the ground crew stays where the metal is bent. We've got a dozen hours till the morning light to stitch these birds up for another fight. Wrenching on the Merlin in the freezing cold, another young Springbok that's growing too old. Wipe away the blood from the leather seats, patch the aluminum and turn up the heat. 74 ghosts in the Korean dirt. We pay for the ground with a heavy head. Hammer up the bullet hole, hammer it down. Bury the boys in the Asian ground. We came to the valley with a 95, and it takes a damn miracle to keep them alive. 74 ghosts, 74 tales, bleeding out oil on the railway trails. We watch them take off in the morning mist. A dozen angry fighters with a loaded fist. We count them on the radar, we count them in the sky, and we wait by the runway to see who's gonna die. Sometimes it's the flak, sometimes it's the ground, sometimes they just vanish with never a sound. 34 pilots who are missing the role. The valley of the shadow is taking its toll. They're giving us sabers.
Jets, finally taking us off the deck.
Yeah, no more props, no more pulling tree branches out of the radiators.
About damn time. Maybe we can stop burying our friends.
Mayday. Mayday. Cheetah 2 is hit. He's trailing black smoke. He's punching out. I see a good shoot. He's going down in the valley near the reservoir. Control. I see infantry moving on his position from the tree line. I am bingo fuel. My needle is on the red. But I am not leaving him in the snow. I am dropping altitude. I'm establishing top cover. Send the rescue chopper now. I'll hold them off as long as I have bullets.
Kissing the terrain, I'm firing the 50s and dropping the rain. They're shooting at my belly, I can hear the metal crack, but I'm keeping them suppressed and I'm pushing them back. The gauge is on zero, the engine's gonna stall. I'm pushing the throttle right into the wall. I swore in the tavern we'd never break the chain. If he's staying in the mud, then I'm staying in the rain.
Cheetah lead. This is Control, your fuel is gone. You are ordered to return to base immediately.
Negative. Control. They are 50 yards from his chute. I still have ammo.
Cheetah lead. You will crash. Get out of there.
I hear the chopper. I'm making one more pass. Going hot.
The artillery doesn't stop for a surgery. The winter doesn't pause for a fever. Dr. Karl von Post looks at the chaos outside his tent flap and knows one thing. The war belongs to the generals, but the men belong to him. He doesn't carry a rifle. He carries a scalpel and a set of orders to save whoever can be saved. Neutrality isn't just a policy. It's the only wall between life and the abyss. Is along in the night. We're working by lanterns, we're working by light. The motors are thumping, the earth starts to shake. But we have a promise we're going to take. Dr. Von Post with the steel in his hand, the calmest of men in the hell of the land. He doesn't choose sides, he doesn't choose names. He just pulls the souls from the heat of the flames. The protocol is silence, the focus is the breath. We're holding the line against the shadow of death. Dar von Post, watching the clock, standing like iron, standing like rock. From the Swedish plains to the Korean snow, he's saving the ones that the guns let go. The surgeons watch the mercy we keep, while the rest of the world is in the darkest of sleep. They ask him the politics, they ask him the goal. He says, save the body, then mend up the soul. The white of the ape and the red of the cross, measuring life against all of the loss. The tent is a beacon, a sanctuary hall, where the commander is answering the higher call. He won't yield an inch to the fear of the cold. His story is etched in the lives that he's told. Doctor, we have incoming 3 more on the stretchers.
Steady, we have enough supplies for today. We don't turn anyone away.
Arbeta, snabber varje minut räknas. The artillery doesn't stop for a surgery. The winter doesn't pause for a fever. Dr. Karl von Post looks at the chaos outside his tent flap and knows one thing. The war belongs to the generals, but the men belong to him. He doesn't carry a rifle. He carries a scalpel and a set of orders to save whoever can be saved. Neutrality isn't just a policy. It's the only wall between life and the abyss. Dar von Post, watching the clock, standing like iron, standing like rock. From the Swedish plains to the Korean snow, he's saving the ones that the guns let go. The surgeons watch
within his eyes.
The doctors saved the life, but the nurses saved the person. In the middle of the carnage, Sister Ingrid home didn't see enemies, didn't see sides. She saw human beings who were scared and far from home. She kept the lantern lit. She was the comfort in the cold.
The frost is creeping on the canvas wall. I hear the wounded man begin to call. I hold his hand so he's not alone. 1,000,000 miles from the lights of home. My apron is white as the falling snow, but it's stained with the pain that the soldiers know. I don't know his language, I don't know his name, but in the dark of the tent, we are all the same. Oh, Sister Ingrid, keep the lantern bright, carry the mercy through the longest night. With a cross on the shoulder and a hand that's kind, you're leaving the fear of the war behind. In the cold of the valley, in the red of the cross, you're the weight of the loss. The surgery's over, the fever's high. I watch the stars in the Korean sky. He's drifting off to a dream of the sea. And for a moment, he's sleeping free. The war is shouting just outside the door, but here in the quiet, we need no more. Just a gentle word and a bandage tight, and the strength to make it through the night. Are you warm enough, soldier? Yes, thank you. Du är inte ensam längre, vila nu.
You are not alone anymore. Rest now.
The night is long, but the morning will come. White apron, white cross. Swedish hands with steady grace set their lamps where fear had gone. Busan held the broken day, mud and smoke and paper skies. They opened up their iron doors and met the war with human eyes. For the boys in UN green, for the mothers by the rail, for the ones who'd lost their names, they kept the candle in the gale. Sweden came to Busan, raised their hands, raised their hands. Sweden came to Busan through the war, through the war. Field hospital, faithful heart, stayed for the long rebuild. Sweden came to Busan and kept us whole. Thousands came through those doors, a child, a soldier, a star. Need English, only let's avoid. Thousands came through those doors, a child, a soldier, a farmer's wife. Bandaged wounds and fevered lungs held a thread back into life. When the guns grew weak and thin, and the rubble learned to breathe, they stayed on through the afters while the city rose from grief. For the names the records held, for the ones the records missed, every bandage, every ball, every night that they still persisted. Sweden came to Busan, raised their hands, raised their hands. Sweden came to Busan through the war, through the war. Field hospital, faithful hearts stayed for the long rebuild. Sweden came to Busan and kept us whole. So pour one slow for the ones who crossed the sea with care. No banners for their own good name, just mercy laid out there. From 1950 onward, a shelter in the storm. In the closing song of memory, we keep that light warm. Hey, Sweden came to Busan, raised their hands, raised their hands. Sweden came to Busan through the war, through the war. Field hospital, faithful heart stayed for the long rebuild. Sweden came to Busan and kept us whole, kept us whole, kept us whole. Sweden came to Busan. Hey! From Sweden came a white hand cross through salt and winter spray. Arrived in 1950 and found Busan on its way. Tents raised up by hard hands where the wounded came in lines. Young boys with broken daylight, civilians sharing time. It stood through smoke and rebuilt, through the long and grinding years. A steady lamp in hard weather, a calm in sweat and tears. Oh, keep their names with care in the timber, in the air, forever. every bandaged heart and every burden there. Sweden, we remember. Sweden, we remember. Busan kept your light. Sweden, we remember. Hand to hand they stay. Hand to hand they stay. Through the war and after. Hand to hand they stay. Not for glory, not for prize, just for the living breath. A bowl of broth, a clean wound, a stubborn step from death. And mothers in the waiting, and soldiers in the rain, heard their own tongues softened by a mercy in the lane. Thousands passed through those doors, with the season turning slow, and the Red Cross on the canvas kept saying, you can go. Oh, keep their names with care, in the timber, in the air, for every bandaged heart and every burden there. Sweden, we remember. Sweden, we remember. Busan kept your light. Sweden, we remember. Hand to hand they stay. Hand to hand they stay. Through the war and after. Hand to hand they stay. Now the harbor keeps its silence, and the years have gone to dust, but the memory is a lantern in the marrow of our trust. For the ones who crossed that water, for the ones who held the line, may this closing song go softly, and may gratitude remain. Sweden, we remember. Sweden, we remember. Busan kept your light. Sweden, we remember. Hand to hand they stay. Hand to hand they stay. Through the war and after. Hand to hand they stay. Sweden, we remember. Sweden, we remember. May your kindness live. Sweden, we remember.
It wasn't just surgery. Before you can heal, you have to survive the commute. The roads in Korea weren't roads. There were rivers of ice and frozen mud. Every box of bandages, every vial of plasma, every bag of supplies had to be fought for. This is the story of the convoy that kept the hospital alive. Engines groaning in the morning light. We've been pushing the trucks through the heart of the night. The mud is deep and the pass is steep, and the valley is wide where the shadows sleep. We carry the cargo, we carry the gear.
We're driving the supply lines, devoid of the fear. Red Cross on the canvas, white paint on the steel. We're turning the fade with the turn of the wheel. Through the frozen mud, through the killing zone, the convoy is rolling, we're never alone. From the port to the tents, we're running the line, keeping the mercy in the dead of the time. The sweat is trucks, the relentless drive, keeping the sanctuary hearts alive. The shell fire screams on the ridge ahead, but we don't stop for the living or the dead. We have the plasma, we have the cause. We don't need a reason, we don't need a pause. The road is a gamble, the truck is a home, across the mountain where the weary roam. We are the pulse that the hospital needs, following where the commander leads. Watch that crater, keep the spacing. If we stop where targets, keep those engines running. Framåt! Vi kan inte stanna nu! Forward! We can't stop now! Never alone. From the port to the tents, we're running the line, keeping the mercy in the dead of the time. The sweat is trucks, the relentless drive, keeping the sanctuary hearts alive. Supplies delivered, tents are ready. The convoy resting in the cold. In the Asho winter fields, they stood in borrowed rain, steel in hand, eyes on the line, and names they never claimed. From far off harbor strangers came, with mud upon their boots. They held the road for peace to grow, and paid in silent roots. Lift the lamp, let it burn, for the ones who did not turn. Hear the ground beneath us speak in every step, in every beat. Raise them high for the fallen, let us cry. Raise them high, they kept the dark from the sky. We remember, we remember, we remember, year by year. Hey! On the ridge and river bend, they held through smoke and snow. A brother fell, a friend fell too, and still they would not go. Flags were torn, the hills were red, the winter bit like iron. But there was bread and there was kin, and hope they kept from dying. Lift the lamp, let it burn, for the ones who did not turn. Hear the ground beneath us speak in every step, in every beat. Raise them high for the fallen, let us cry. Raise them high, they kept the dark from the sky. We remember, we remember, we remember, year by year. Hey! Hey, hey. set for names, and the cup is passed in turn. Every scar becomes a vow, every flame becomes a yearn. Not for war, but for the brave who carried us through fire. May their sleep be deep and green, and may we lift them higher. Raise them high for the fallen, let us cry. Raise them high, they kept the dark from the sky. We remember, we remember, we remember, year by year. Holy drum, go slow, heart of the fallen, hold. On a cold, thin road, we came with empty hands, names on folded cloth, mud on borrowed boots. We stood for the shore, we stood for the lion, and the dark came down, but the light did not. Raise them up, raise them high, tell their mothers why, tell the river, tell the pines their breath still rides. For the fallen we remember, for the fallen we sing, for the countries that stood when the red tide came in. For the fallen we remember, hold the wall, hold the flame, South Korea, keep their names in the rain, in the rain. From the hills to the bay, from snow to broken stone, they gave their young years so we would not be alone. No gold in their pockets, no pride in their praise, just a final step and a place to stay. Raise them up, raise them high, tell their mothers why, tell the river, tell the pines their breath still rides. For the fallen we remember, for the fallen we sing, for the countries that stood when the red tide came in. For the fallen we remember, hold the wall, hold the flame, South Korea, keep their names in the rain, in the rain. Lay the poppies down by the old parade ground. Let the tavern go quiet, let the glass turn round. If the night gets long, we will carry the tone. Every scar, every name is a part of home. For the fallen we remember, for the fallen we sing, for the countries that stood when the red tide came in. For the fallen we remember, hold the wall, hold the flame. South Korea, keep their names in the rain, in the rain.
Top Hill, 1953. The artillery has been turning this ground into a crater for days. Major Krangsak Shamanan looks at the mud, the wire, and the eyes of his men. He doesn't need to give a long speech, he just looks at them and says, Rarau kwe suyanoi, raksapwentini. We are the little tigers hold this ground. No one takes the hill. Not today. We're shutting the doors on the communist gates. Kriengsak is calling, he's pointing the way. We're clearing the trench at the end of the day. The mud is a graveyard, the wire is a snare, but there's a roar of a tiger in the freezing air. Hold the line, keep the fire, hang the enemy on the rusted wire. The little tiger's blood is the price of the hill, and we're keeping the promise to hold it still. The hill is a grave for the little tigers, for the bold and the brave. Suyanoi, we're standing our ground, the deadliest roar that can ever be found. With the major in front and the spirit of Siam, we're smashing the line of the red-hearted dam. They think we're a force that is easily swayed, but they don't know the blade that the tiger has made. Bayonets fixed in the gray of the light, we're winning the hill in the middle of night. The brass in the back gives the order to flee, but Krangsak says never. And listen to me, we are the pride of the land and the sky, and Pork Chop is the place where the enemy dies. Major, the casualties are heavy. Can we hold? We don't hold because it's easy. We hold because we are tigers. Fix bayonets! The call comes from the UN. From the humid heat of Bangkok to the sub-zero slush of the Korean peninsula. They aren't a massive force, but they are giants in the field. Colonel Krishna Vacharasinthu walks the line. He doesn't look at the temperature. He looks at the resolve in his men's eyes. He knows what they call them, the little tigers. And he intends to make sure that name is feared from the Yalu to the sea. The jungle is far away, but the tiger doesn't change his stripes.
Little tigers never count what they've lost. Watch the ridge line, watch the flank. They're pushing back the wave, they're breaking the tank under the command of the man who knows the way. The tiger is rising to claim the day. The little tigers roaring in the snow. They don't back down, they don't let go. Colonel Krishna leads the fighting pride. On the post, the tigers are standing like a vengeful ghost, hand to hand in the mud and the freezing mire. They're turning the defense into a funeral pyre. They hold up position, they hold the ground. They are the most dangerous force to be found. The colonel is watching, the colonel is there. The tiger is stalking with the deadly glare.
Colonel, the enemy is at the wire. Good, tell the men to fix bayonets. They expect us to retreat. They have no idea what they've just poked.
Climbing
They said the terrain would break us. They said the armor was too far ahead. They didn't know the tigers. We don't follow the tanks. We move with the steel.
The treads are cutting deep in the mountainside. We're riding in the wake of the iron tide. The road is long and the fog is gray, but we're the tigers leading the way. The Hwachon waters run cold and deep, but we've got promises that we have to keep. The mortars falling like the winter rain, but we don't fear the fire or the pain. Through the valley of the iron rain, we carry the fire, we carry the strain. Little tigers, we walk with the might, fighting in the shadow of the steel tonight. Sila tualek,ไม่เคยกลัวความตาย tualek, ไม่เคยกลัวความตาย Little tigers, never afraid of death. The tank commander signals the line. We're pushing forward, crossing the line. Side by side in the mud and the glare, the scent of the iron, the death in the air. We don't need mercy, we don't need a name. We're burning bright in the heart of the flame. When the sky turns black and the hills collide, we stand as one, with nowhere to hide. How close are the lines? Close enough to hear them breathe. เดินหน้าต่อไป ไม่ถอยหลัง